f is the function 2x plus 5. We need to find f of 3. So that means to substitute 3 into our function f instead of the x. So if I put 3 here instead of the x, I'd have 2 lots of 3, which is 6, plus 5, which is 11. Part B, we need to express the inverse function f minus 1 in the form of f of x equals. So the inverse here means to do the opposite. So here I'm timesing by 2 and then adding 5. So if I was to go in reverse, I would want to subtract 5 and then divide by 2. So that would be x minus 5 divided by 2. Just to explain that a little bit more if you're not sure, this function here is saying to times by 2 and then I add 5 and then I get my answer. So if I want to do the inverse function, so if I want to take my answer and go back to where I started, I'll take the answer, I would subtract 5 from that, I would then divide by 2, and that would take me back to where I started. Hence why I've got x minus 5 divided by 2. G is the function g of x is equal to x squared minus 25. I want to substitute minus 3 in instead of the x. So minus 3 squared is minus 3 times minus 3, which is positive 9. Take away 25. 9 minus 25 is minus 16. Part D. Find g of f of x. So this is the same thing as saying g f of x, like that. So I want to substitute f of x into my g function. So instead of having an x here in my g function, instead of having the x here, I've got 2x plus 5 here. So I will square the 2x plus 5 and then take away 25. So basically I've taken my f of x and I've substituted that in instead of the x here. I need to simplify my answer. So if I expand these brackets out, I'll get 4x squared plus 20x, because 2x times 5 is 10x, then double it, I'll get 20x, plus 25 from the 5 squared. If you wanted to, you could expand this out the long way. 2x plus 5 all squared is 2x plus 5 plus multiplied by 2x plus 5, which gives 4x squared plus 10x plus 10x plus 25. So hopefully you can see where that came from. So this is the 2x plus 5 all squared. We've then got to take away 25 as well, which cancels out those two terms, and we'll just get left with 4x squared plus 20x. And that's as simple as we can write gf of x, sorry. Finally, part 2, solve gf of x equals to 0. So when does that equation that we've just found, that's the gf of x, that needs to equal 0. So if I factorise this equation, so I'll take 4x outside here, because 4x goes into the 4x squared, x times, and 4x goes into the 20x 5 times. So now I can see that either x would have to be 0, because if x was 0, then 4x would be 0, and therefore that's 0 times whatever this is would be 0, or x is going to equal minus 5, because if x is minus 5 plus 5 would be 0, and 0 times anything will be 0. So these are your two answers.